I would now like to call to the mic the great representative from the 9th District to introduce our next honorees, and that would be Mr. Curran Price. Give Mr. Price a round of applause.
Thank you, Mr. President. This is an exciting day for us. I mentioned that earlier this morning. All of our honorees have certainly distinguished themselves, and it's just very exciting. But I just want to take a minute of personal privilege and acknowledge how proud we are, Mr. President, of you in your role in history. Let's give it up for our president. We're proud of your achievements. And I'm proud to live in a city where your leadership can help improve the quality of life for so many Angelenos. Again, congratulations, Mr. President.
Thank you, Mr. Price. Anything you want today is a high vote.
Well, our next recipient is for the Outstanding Achievement in Education, and it's Dr. Willie Hagan, president of the Cal State University, Dominguez Hills. Dr. Hagan became president in 2013. During his tenure, he has successfully raised the bar for achieving academic excellence by reinvigorating efforts to fulfill Dominguez Hills' mission to increase access to education and academic access. He has furthered the goal to become one of the nation's leading urban universities, preeminent in teaching, student engagement, and student success. I present to you our honoree for Outstanding Achievement in Education, Dr. Willie Hagan.
Well, I just came because they told me Lionel Richie was going to be here. But in all seriousness, I want to thank everyone behind nominating for this award. This is the kind of award that you did not receive because of your actions alone. To receive an award recognizing achievement for being president of a university really requires three things: a dedicated faculty and staff. We have one of the best in the state of California, I say in the country. A group of supporters in our city and around California, and a hard-working group of students who want to transform their lives. And I think the fourth thing that you need to be successful is a very clear mission that you're dedicated to accomplishing. And many of you heard this before. Cal State Dominguez Hills was started in Palos Verdes, California in 1960, one of the 100 richest communities in the country. And after the riots in 1965, the governor and the Board of Trustees relocated the campus from Palos Verdes to Carson to help service those areas that were deemed to be cities in crisis and turmoil. And we're very proud of the fact that they saw us as being part of the process of transforming that community. And we've done that. 95,000 alums later, almost a $350 million economic impact on the area, and a number of leaders, not only throughout the country, but in this room. A lot of our alums are here. And I think that that's what's important about our university. We were told to make a difference, and we think we have done that. And I only have a couple of minutes, and so I'll just say this. I mean, as a president of a university, you are programmed to brag about your campus. And I know there are a lot of great folks lined up to come up and talk, so I will only mention a couple of things and relate to some of the comments that were made here earlier. An organization called Educate to Career ranks Dominguez Hills in the top 10 in the nation for job opportunities for its graduates. And from that standpoint, we're accomplishing our mission. Even more importantly, the Washington Monthly ranks colleges on what they term contributions to the public good. And you just think of that, even as a award category, Contributions to the Public Good. For 3 years in a row, Cal State Dominguez Hills has been ranked among the top 10 institutions in the nation for contribution to the public good. And that relates to giving low-income and minority students an opportunity to have access and to graduate from an institution of higher education, to provide cutting-edge research, and also to provide service to the community. And we just last year won President Obama's National Award for Community Engagement. Thank you. And that award is important because it said you embraced the mission that was given to you and you've done well in that mission. And as I said earlier, this is not an accomplishment that represents my work alone. It represents the work of a lot of outstanding folks, and I would not be here. And I also want to basically mention the CSU system as a whole. We are one of 23 institutions, all charged to help elevate California's citizenry. We believe we are a significant part of the economic engine of this state. So with that, again, thank you for this award. I'm humbled and I'm pleased. Thank you very much.
Start on the side, yeah. Dr. Willie Hagan. And now our recipient for Outstanding Achievement in Law. We are pleased to honor the Honorable Audrey Collins, Associate Justice, California Court of Appeals.
Your Honor, you're up.
Your Honor.
Your Honor, Your Honor.
Your Honor.
You Let's give her another round of applause.
Judge Collins was appointed by Governor Brown to the bench, to the California Court of Appeals in 2014. Raised in a family that was particularly dedicated to public service, she's received many accolades from a cross-section of civic and faith-based organizations for her achievements. In 1978, while working at the LA District Attorney's Office, Justice Collins was the first African-American woman to become a head deputy, assistant bureau director, and assistant district attorney in that office. She was elected president of the Association of Deputy District Attorneys in 1984. She is a real pioneer, a real role model, and our honoree, the Honorable Audrey Collins.
Thank you. I'd like to thank Mayor Eric Garcetti, the members of the R. Arthur's Club, and everyone else responsible, including the City Council, for including me in such distinguished company this year. If my career in law has been unusual, it's partly because of the number of positions I've held, and for those opportunities, I have a lot of other people to thank, from District Attorneys John Vandekamp and Assistant DA Johnny Cochran. Yes, he was in the DA's office, and later District Attorney Gil Garcetti, all of whom recognized the need for diversity in the DA's office. To President Bill Clinton, who selected me as his first appointee to the federal district court here in Los Angeles, and of course Governor Jerry Brown, who appointed me. Governor Brown appointed me to the California Court of Appeal, and I want to say that was due in large part to the efforts of our local African American bar associations, including California Association of Black Lawyers, the Langston Bar Association, and Black Women Lawyers of Los Angeles. I'd like to thank all of them. Of course, my family, including my husband Tim, who's here today, and my children have always supported me, which has propelled me forward. But my debt to my family stretches back far beyond this generation, and I couldn't accept this award during African American Heritage Month without acknowledging my ancestors whose sacrifices brought me to this point. My paternal grandfather, Furman Lawrence Brody, was born a slave in South Carolina in 1856 and didn't learn to read until, encouraged by missionaries, he traveled to a school in Illinois in his late teens. After becoming a teacher, he married my grandmother, Annie. They had 11 children, one of whom was my father, Furman Jr. My father worked to put himself through historically black colleges, including Meharry Dental School. He chose not to marry until he was financially stable. So at 50 years old, he met and married my mother, then a 29-year-old school teacher at Booker T. Washington in Norfolk, Virginia. My parents instilled, if not drilled, the importance of education and family into me and my brothers, one of whom is here today, Bruce Brody, the Chief Deputy of the LA County Alternate Public Defender. I know my grandparents and parents on both sides of my family are especially proud today. Thank you.
Thank you again. Justice Audrey Collins.
Thank you, Mr. Price. And before I bring up Marquise Harris Dawson, I think it's important, especially given the display that we have on Motown, to recognize that we have the former vice president of Motown, Irish Gordy, with us today. Give Iris a round of applause. She did a lot of projects with Smokey Robinson, DeBarge, Diana Ross, Four Tops, Temptations, and also with us we have her daughter, Carla, it's my understanding. Please rise. Carla Gordy Bristol. I'd like to bring to the mic the representative from the great 8th District, Marquise Harris Dawson.
Thank you so much, Mr. President. And thank you to the mayor, our citywide elected officials, our controller, Ron Galprin, and Councilmember Price. Today is a remarkable day in the city of Los Angeles as we kick off the African American Heritage Month, standing side by side with all of our colleagues and all of the Los Angeles city family. It's good to live in a city where we all have each other's back. And the celebration of African American contribution isn't only on African American members, but it's something that we all share together. I think Los Angeles deserves a big round of applause. I'm happy to introduce our next honoree, the recipient of the Hall of Fame Award, Outstanding Achievement in Government, the chairman of the California Board of Equalization, the Honorable Jerome Horton. With over 27 years of Board of Equalization experience in tax administration, property taxes, and tax policy, Horton is the first African American and perhaps the most experienced and qualified person ever to serve on the board since its inception in 1879. Nationally recognized for his free income tax preparation and family resource fair and business resource seminars, Horton has helped working families capture millions in tax refunds and credits and provided tools for women to break through the glass ceiling in business. Please help me give a Los Angeles welcome to the Honorable Jerome Horton.
I want to start out by thanking Mr. Mayor and the R. Authors Study Club for this distinguished honor. It is indeed a pleasure to be in the presence of so many outstanding individuals, but I want to send a shout out to your president, Herb Wesson, who has been a guiding light for me in a number of ways, as well as thank the entire City Council for all their work.
Thank you.
It's kind of interesting, as an alumni of Cal State Dominguez, I had to tell the judge that I was innocent, and then I had to share with Lionel that I lost his album and to see if he can send me another copy. So, for a number of reasons, I'm really happy to be here. But as the first African American to serve on the Board of Equalization since its inception, I owe a tremendous debt of gratitude to the courage, conviction, as well as the sacrifice of so many individuals who have come before me. It is because of them and the grace of God that I stand here today. When joining the Board of Equalization, I took a different look at it. I saw it as a powerful force to take on human trafficking, and we were able to participate in the arrest and the conviction of a number of folks that are committing that heinous crime here in our society. With over 235,000 employees at the state level, lawyers, doctors, and so forth, we saw it as an opportunity to begin to promote women and minorities and created a pathway for them to transition from the colleges on the east side to be able to take employment on the west side. And so you see, members, we have an opportunity to make a difference as individuals. But I am also conscious that at a time in our nation's history when black actors continue to fight for just attention, just a little bit of attention and respect for the work that they do. When the children in Flint, Michigan, where my dad lives, continue to fight for just fresh water, something that we take for granted. When the mothers of young men go to sleep and they pray that they wake up not to find their son killed on the side of a road, I realize that the fight continues. And just below the surface of our reality, there are terrorists who would take advantage of the wedges that divide us. And so it's incumbent upon us to stay united, as this council has been, as the mayor has been, and as your honorees has continued to provide that unity in their area of expertise. The one thing I've also realized over a period of time is that the old Negro anthem that says, "We shall overcome," I've come to realize that someday is not on the calendar, and that we must begin today and every day to do the best that we can to make a difference in our society. That's why my wife, Yvonne, and I, we wake up every morning trying to figure out how we can improve the quality of life in our society. We have begun to call ourselves nobodies, trying to help somebody as often as we can. It is also why I am so honored to receive this award for the work that we do. As all of you elected leaders and leaders who go out and sacrifice your families and so forth, you know the value when someone simply says, "Thank you." So to the mayor and to the Authors Club and to all of you who are here today, thank you so very much for this honor.
Thank you, Jerome. Jerome Horton, ladies and gentlemen.
I need some affirmative action. The Honorable Jerome Horton, everybody. Last but certainly not least, our grand finale of honorees today. We have the recipient of the Lifetime Achievement Award, Ernestine Gordon. While the Association for the Study of African American Life and History is headquartered at Howard University, we have our own chapter here in Los Angeles. Our Authors Study Club began citywide celebrations of what was then Negro History Week in 1947. And in 1950, our city's mayor, Boren, issued the first proclamation acknowledging our Authors Study Club. The OASC offers reading programs for elementary school students, scholarships for deserving students seeking a bachelor's degree, and fellowships for PhD candidates researching African American history, literature, or culture. Please join me in honoring our Authors Study Club. Come on up.
Wow, I'm overwhelmed, actually, because we are celebrating 70 years. We're moving into our 71st year. And I'm just moved because of the history and that I'm heard in the comptroller and in our mayor about what has gone on before, their knowledge and understanding of it. And one of the things I want to say is that is our mission as a local branch of our National Association, and that is to research, study, and to disseminate information about our black forefathers and mothers, even those that we know their names and those that we don't. So I'm really very happy to our organization to be honored, because 70 years, it takes a lot of barriers to overcome. So we're really happy, and we didn't do it by ourselves. I am so proud that Mayor Garcetti and the council has always worked with us in the celebration of African American history. So it's a joint effort, and it's very much appreciated. I want to share with you just briefly that Carter G. Woodson, I don't know if you know who Carter G. Woodson is, but in 1915, because we were not able to get blacks were not able to get information published, and he wanted our history to continue, him and his contemporaries started the National Negro Life and History Organization that celebrated its 100 years last year. So we are here because a man stepped out back in 1915 with his contemporaries, and whatever barriers were there, as you can see, it continues to happen, started an organization in which now we have black authors, we have associations, and we have a history and writers and books. And so it is to his credit that we stand here today celebrating our black history. So I want to thank the mayor, and I want to thank the President Weston for being with us, staying with us, honoring us. And it's just, I'm just really overwhelmed by the knowledge and continue to share information and disseminate black history. So thank you so very much for this opportunity.
We do have a couple speakers on the queue as well. Mr. Kretz?
Thank you, Mr. President. I want to recognize all of our honorees for their amazing contributions to black history, American history, and our culture. But I particularly want to take a moment for a point of personal privilege to recognize my longtime friend Jerome Horton, who was a treasured colleague of mine in the State Assembly. He was a council member in Inglewood, and now, as was said, not only the most experienced, but best and most capable member of the Board of Equalization ever to be elected, as well as an African American, the first African American. He's done an amazing job in that capacity. He's used his incredible knowledge to help people understand otherwise mystifying and intimidating tax codes. He's fought for working families. He's fought for the few percent that, or I should say, the overwhelming percent of people that usually are disadvantaged in the process, and tried to even the playing field. And he's just been a great friend as well. We met each other before we were in the Assembly, but our first year, our offices were located across the hall from each other. Our families were the ones that came up the most, I think, in the legislature. Our wives became good friends. Our kids played with each other. And your family is my family. And so I want to recognize you for your great career and your great friendship as well.
And before I call on Mr. Buscaino, is Tracy still here? Tracy Underwood. Tracy, please stand up. One of our sponsors from Toyota. We could not do this if we didn't have supporters like you. Tracy Underwood. With that said, Mr. Buscaino.
Thank you, Mr. President, and thank you, Mr. President, for your leadership, Mr. Price and Marquise Harris Dawson. These are true African-American leaders here in the city of Los Angeles, and I'm so blessed, and we're so blessed to stand alongside and lead this great city. Last year in my district in Watts, we celebrated the strength and the resiliency of the Watts community during the 50-year anniversary of the Watts Rebellion. In fact, just 2 weeks ago, we opened one of the hottest restaurants in the city of Los Angeles, local, today, that sits on the corner of 103rd and Anzac. And while these types of restaurants pop up all over the city of L.A., for us it's special in Watts. And it shouldn't be, but it is. That we should welcome all variety of businesses to open in our South Los Angeles communities, and we're proud of that. We continue to strive for a better future for our communities in the face of adversity, but we can't discount the inequality that continues to exist today. I want to recognize our honorees today that continues to remind us that everyone has a role. Everyone has a role of continuing to break down the barriers that keep the status quo in place. And I look at this year's African American Heritage Month piece that we just unveiled, and I look at this artist by the name of Mrs. Jones, and I see an amazing piece of work. And I see in this photo that the first African-American female principal dancer of the American Ballet Theater, Misty Copeland, came out of the San Pedro Ballet School. And just recently we recognized Misty and named a square after her, the corner of 13th and Pacific. I look at Dr. Hagen. I'm one of those proud alums that he referenced to. Cal State Dominguez Hills, who has been such a great partner in my district. In Watts, in the summer of last year, we worked with the university on the beautification project of the Bradley Milken Center and Fire Station 65. Dr. Hagen and I really proud to welcome a number of volunteers from the university. They completed a lawn makeover, and with the Dominguez Hill Center for Service Learning, Internships and Community Engaged, which is called SLICE. We also recently started a collaboration between ShareFest, Dominguez Hills, and my office to complete the lawn beautification at Fire Station 65. We know that Dominguez Hills continues to welcome ShareFest each and every summer with their Summer Youth Development Academy on campus that invites dozens of youth from my district that welcomes them. They engage in academic and leadership opportunities. The ITEP conference was held. The International Trade and Education Program was held at your university, Dr. Hagen. We thank you for opening your campus to all parts of the city. And thank you for giving me the honor to address the graduating class, the commencement last May. I really appreciate you and your leadership. And Mr. Horton, congratulations on your award as well. Thank you for your leadership. I know that plane will be landing soon, but I know you'll be taking off somewhere else. So I appreciate your leadership as well. And to Lionel Richie, who slipped out of the room, Lionel, just know that you are my go-to songs when I sing to my karaoke. And my partner, Mr. Koretz, we can maybe do something in honor of Lionel Richie, but we'll save it for later. So congratulations to our honorees. Thank you, Mr. President. God bless you, and God bless the entire African-American community.
Again, I want to acknowledge all of the honorees. Congratulations, Jerome Horton, my dear friend, and we served together. To all of you, Your Honor, Mr. President, I do have a staff member who's a graduate from your university as well. To our Arthur Study Club, you started all of this. We really appreciate it. To Irish Gordy, thank you for adjusting your calendar to be with us today. Responsible for launching Rick James's career, to Tina Marie's career. Anyway, please, before you leave, go see the bridge. There's a great display. That concludes today's presentation. One more round of applause. Thank you all so very much for coming. Thank you. Also, where's Fram and Julie? Raise your hand. Fram and Julie, give them a round of applause. They're the mother and father-in-law of my communications director, Vanessa. So thank you for joining us today. She's been a great asset. I keep an eye on her. Keep her on a short leash. But she's great. Thank you for joining us today. Okay, why don't we, sorry, Vince, of all days, we're going to take up item 8 now. Come on forward.
Are you? Morning. You look like it from here, though. Hey, how are you? Mitch always looks like he's 6'2" because he's always standing above me. Every time I see him, he's standing like about on a podium that makes him look 6'2". Yes. Isn't it? Yes.
Okay, you know, before we start, Mr. Weezar, I have a card from Mr. Previn. Why don't we take the card? Mr. Previn, please come forward. I was afraid you were going to break out into song, Mr. Buscaina. Mr. Previn, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Council President Wesson. It is Eric Previn. Thank you.
Go ahead, Mr. Previn.
I appreciate that, sir. Today is item 8 is a communication from the mayor and the EERC, which is the employment group, who have it's relative to the appointment of Mr. Vince Bertoni, who will be the new director of planning for the city of Los Angeles, and he's replacing Mr. Logrand, who Mr. Weezar honored last week or so, and it's a big job, and so we appreciate his coming on board. I think he worked in Pasadena. I think he's got some experience with the city of Los Angeles. He has now, as of February 1, done the various disclosures that the Ethics Commission requires, and he's clean and ready to start. So that's exciting. There are some things that he could work on from the perspective of the public, and I just wanted to outline one or two. In general, I think that Director of Planning has a lot to say about the projects around the city that are greenlit and move forward. They talk amongst one another, and there's a lot of group with a big staff, and they've been doing, as Mr. Weezar outlined last week, a lot of really good work. the piece from the local residents in the communities about outreach is important, and the way it's set up now is everything gets aimed at Department of Neighborhood Empowerment, which is done. They're the people who run the 95 neighborhood councils that you and Krikorian have given $50,000 each for the next year going forward to run nice little land use groups that help bring out the message. The problem is there's no standard outreach protocol, and so it's left up to those individual groups. This can result in a lot of outreach, or it can result in a, more quiet rollout that can be perceived as sometimes something less than fully, sufficient. So that was the case with item 65 on December 16th, 2015, and I would ask that the City Council bring it back to the Council to be heard properly from the residents of that community, because it was only heard in the Little Planning Committee. And thank you for your time.